Good morning, class 10th. Children, today we will be continuing with the unit or the chapter that we started last time. It was biodiversity. And if you people remember that we were doing the concept of biodiversity followed by the types with reference to species biodiversity, genetic biodiversity, and ecosystem biodiversity, right? Thereafter, we also discussed after the types that what are the factors for loss of biodiversity, and if the biodiversity is lost, what are the implications of biodiversity. Implications means the after effect or impacts, right? The last topic that we did was the concern with reference to the ecological services, with reference to the aesthetical services, and with reference to the economical services. We discussed everything in my last video. Now today we will be proceeding further. If you can see on the screen, the heading is conservation of biodiversity. Just according to your syllabus, the second heading is conservation. Before I start with conservation, start explaining conservation, you should understand that why do we need it and what is the meaning of conservation. When we are conserving biodiversity, when we are protecting the plants, the variety of plants and animals and microbes by various ways, to manage them, to maintain them, to uplift them, to protect them from extinction, from being disappeared. We are doing everything to protect them, to conserve them, and we are following various methods to do this. And ultimately, what are we approaching? We are approaching sustainability. Now, this is the word which is throughout. Those who are EVS students, they always understand what is meant by sustainability. Sustainable means long lasting. Any strategy, any work, any developmental activity, any environmental method that we follow, if it is long lasting, if it is not going to cause, three words are there whenever we explain sustainable. One thing is, doesn't matter, it is sustainable development, it is sustainable agriculture. The first word here is sustainability includes that the practice you are doing is economically profitable, environmentally sound, and socially viable. That means we cannot compromise with economic benefits. So obviously we have to search for a strategy which is economically profitable. We are not compromising for monetary gains. And second thing is environmentally sound. That means it is also not causing any adverse impact on the environment. And third thing is socially viable. That means it is not going to it is absolutely safe for the living beings, for mankind. It is not going to cause any harm to the living beings, right? After this, now since already the definition is written on the screen, I will be sending this to you later on in the form of a PDF. You just keep a record, whether you want to note it down or you have to get it printed out. That's totally your discretion, but this is very much important, and I believe you have to write this in your copy in the same manner. If you have already written the notes, doesn't matter, but please, when you are appearing in exam and you are writing the answers, please follow the pattern that I am telling you, right? Doesn't matter from where the content of study is coming. I have already sent you the notes for the chapter, so please read the book. According to me, textbook reading is very much important with respect to objective type questions, right? Thereafter, when we have already understood that what is meant by conservation of biodiversity, we are protecting. The first word that comes to the mind is protection. Protection, maintenance, upliftment to achieve sustainability, so that the varieties of plants and animals, they can live for a longer time, right? Why there is a need? Last time we discussed that there is a loss of biodiversity because of the man, the super consumer, right? So because of human activities only, the biodiversity is deteriorating, is getting reduced day by day, and because of such loss, many species have been extincted. They are disappeared from the earth. So in that case, to protect them, what we have to do? We have to protect them from the human threat, right? We have to protect them from human threat. Apart from other natural ways, see, natural disasters cannot be controlled. I mean, you cannot have any control over them, but you can have control over your own activities, right? Now we just come to, before we discuss the conservation strategies, if you can see, I have written here the heading as threatened species. Many students don't understand this. They count threatened as one of the, like the words are endangered, vulnerable, rare species, extinct species, and you call threatened species also. No, threatened is the common heading for any kind of threat to the living world, living organisms. So, if any species of plant and animal is under threat, doesn't matter severe threat, less threat, more threat, but ultimately, if there is a threat, you will be calling it threatened species, right? And depending upon the severity of threat, we categorize these species as, first one is, I have written it in sequence so that you understand the severity of the danger. So, the first one here is vulnerable. Vulnerable means the species is still existing, the population is also safe at present, but the species is facing some kind of danger, some kind of threat from the mankind, because the people are exploiting a particular variety of plant or animal for their economic benefits. Right. So as of now, we have just seen that okay, a particular species is being targeted and it might get in danger in future if the problem persists for a longer time. Right. So such species who are actually facing the threat but not at a much severe rate, then you call them vulnerable species. I have already given the examples there. You can discuss there, learn the examples later on. I won't be getting into the examples here. Second category, becoming more severe, is endangered. It's just like you are stepping down on a staircase, right? So you just see that first step was vulnerable, not much threat, but if the problem persists, might be in danger in future. Second one is endangered. Now endangered is more severe. So in that case, the operative word is, these species are at the verge of extinction. So verge of extinction, that's, these are the only three words you have to write whenever it comes to endangered species. Right, the species which are facing severe threat from mankind, and the population is so low that if the problem is not controlled in future, then the species would be disappearing very soon from the earth. This is known as verge of, margin of extinction, right? This is endangered. And the third one here is extinct species. If you can see, I have written the operative word there, vanished or disappeared or don't exist anymore. That means you are not going to find any member of this category in this world. The species is completely vanished or disappeared, right? So no member is existing now, and the very famous examples are dinosaurs, dodo, woolly mammoth. These are the famous example, you may write them. Then comes a rare species. Now you people get confused. Rare means it's not necessary. The number, the population of such species is already low. It doesn't matter. We cannot blame the mankind for this. Automatically, if any species is existing in this world in a lesser number. Why? Because it is not evenly distributed. It is confined to a particular area. You can find a particular variety of plant or an animal in a particular area only. It is not evenly distributed throughout the world. In that case, such species which are uncommon, which have a scarce distribution, that means not even distribution, and in patches it is found in some specific areas only. That's why their total number comes to be lesser than those who are evenly distributed, and such species are known as rare species, right? So automatically the number is low. We cannot afford to pose any threat to such species, otherwise they would go very soon. They don't have much margin. In that case, I mean, those species which are already less in number, we have to take care of such species. They are already in threat, because we cannot have any, we cannot pose any threat to such species. Already the examples are there: desert fox, Himalayan brown bear. Sometimes if you see that we mention the locality where they are found. They're like desert fox, found in desert only, then Himalayan brown bear, only the Himalayas, and then you see the giant otter, pangolins, red wolves. These are the examples, right? Please read them and please learn them as such, dear, so that I mean you don't face any problem. And let me tell you that such species, such definitions along with the examples, they are straight question in boards for 2 marks, right? And apart from these two words more, if you remember my last WhatsApp video, you must have seen notice that I highlighted a word, endemic and exotic. These two words are also to be known, because anytime you will be asked, what do you mean by exotic species or what do you mean by endemic species? Give example, right? So in that case, exotic species, exotic word means foreign, coming from outside, non-native. The species that doesn't belong to your native place, it has been introduced from the foreign area, or it has come from outside, that is exotic. And the one which belongs to your own area, it is endemic, right, children? So I believe that this particular point depend, I mean, what do you mean by the conservation of biodiversity, why do we need it, and these three categories of endangerment, I hope now you understand what are threatened species. Now I will be proceeding further in my next video, and we will start discussing the conservation, the methods of conservation, how we can protect these species from being endangered, right? Thank you.